Hey everyone, Angus Wong here. And before I go any further into the video, I want to make sure that everyone understands that this is not a full flight in-depth analysis of the brand new Optolong L-Extreme filter. And the reason for that is because my pre-order copy of it just arrived yesterday. So I am actually going to be using this for the first time and sharing it with the rest of you guys. So there is no way for me to provide any in-depth analysis, but I'm hoping what I would do in this video is actually talk about some of the reasons why I decided to purchase the Optolong L-Ultimate filter and talk you through my thought process for tonight's session using this filter. And I hope that the combination of me discussing why I purchased the filter and how I plan to image with it will give you enough of an insight for you to decide whether or not this filter is going to be a good choice for you. Now, a full flight in-depth analysis video will be coming up in the coming weeks, maybe even a month, but I think that's going to be appropriate because at the moment, unless you pre-order this, there's no way, and I'm sorry to say this, there's no way for anyone else to even buy the Optolong L-Ultimate filter. And I don't think you'll be seeing these on the used market anytime soon. So that's why I think, splitting this into a first impression, first light, and then follow it by a in-depth analysis at a later time point, it's appropriate. And I hope that you'll come along with me tonight to check out my first session with the Optolong L-Ultimate. All right, so we have some sunlight left. So I want to take a moment to talk about the Optolong L-Ultimate. And also, for the purposes of this video, moving forward, I'm only going to say Ultimate when I'm referring to this filter. I'm not going to say Optolong L-Ultimate all the time. So I want to take a moment to talk about the Ultimate filter, some background and why I think it'll be pretty awesome. And then finally, why I decided to purchase yet another Optolong filter despite having a full line of their one-shot color camera filter. So about the Ultimate filter, the specs are 3 nanometers hydrogen alpha bandpass and 3 nanometers oxygen 3 bandpass. And this will probably be one of the most important and exciting astrophotography product because at 3 nanometers, this is as narrow as some of the most refined, some of the most sought after single channel monochrome filter. So it's pretty amazing that they're able to put both of those band passes on a single filter and make it work for one-shot color camera. And if you haven't watched my other video about filters and why you want to go as narrow as possible, well, that's because the more narrow you go, the more of the surrounding light pollution, you're able to block out and just focus on the signal that you want. In this case, is the hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3. So in theory, this Ultimate filter, it should give me the most refined signal while using a one-shot color camera and imaging an emission nebulae. So that's a little background about the Ultimate filter. So why did I purchase this having already owned an entire line of Optolong filter? Well, the reason is because I live in San Francisco and I have some of the world's worst light pollution. And on top of that, I am surrounded by obstructions and I live 2 blocks away from the Pacific Ocean. So weather is always a factor for me because I live right by the ocean. And because of the obstructions nearby, I don't always get a full night imaging my target. A lot of times it syncs either too late for me to start, or it syncs too early behind my neighbor's house, and I just have to end the session. So the fact that there is now a filter available to me that will help me get the cleanest data available on the market while still using a one-shot color camera, that's really exciting. Now, I do have a whole separate monochrome setup, but I don't always like using that because it takes really long to set up, it takes really long to capture, it takes really long to complete an image. So the main reason why I'm using, or I've decided to purchase the Ultimate filter, is because I don't have a whole lot of time under the night sky to image the objects that I want. So with the amount of time available to me, I want to be able to maximize what I can get. So therefore, I decided to purchase the Ultimate filter because of its 3 nanometers bandpass. It will cut out the most amount of light pollution around me, and it will help me refine the signals that I want for my emission nebulae. So that's a little background about the Optolong Ultimate filter and why I purchased it. Okay, so well, I want to say it's a little bit after 7 p.m., but we still have some sunlight, but it's quickly going down. So I'm just about getting ready to set up. But for tonight's session, I think I've picked the best target in order to really get a feel of what the Ultimate filter is able to help me accomplish. And it's going to be a target that I've imaged actually many times this summer, and you've probably seen it many times. I will be imaging a portion of the Veil Nebula, and the reason why I picked that object once again, it's because, well, it's one of the few objects that are available to me right now in the middle of September that has both a very prominent region of hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3. And the good thing about this object is that a lot of the hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3 signals, they don't overlap to the point where the hydrogen alpha, like most emission nebulae, sort of dominates the object. And in order for me to really bring out the oxygen 3 signal, I have to, do post-editing manipulation and using palettes such as the HA palette, which is sort of a false color image using a one-shot color camera. But with the Veil Nebula, because those regions are so distinct from one another that there's not really a lot of overlapping. So I can really see what this filter allows me to do, and without a lot of post-editing manipulation as far as like color mapping and whatnot. So I'm sorry if you're bored of me imaging the Veil Nebula, but this is the most obvious choice for the middle of September in San Francisco. So I hope that tonight I can pick a different region of the Veil Nebula to focus on using the redcat 71. So either way, I'm excited, even if I end up picking a region that I've imaged before. So stick around. I'm gonna go and finish my setup and wait for the night to come pretty soon. Okay, so it's about 8:30 p.m. I actually want to get started as soon as I can because at the moment in the middle of September, the Veil Nebula, it's already pretty high up in the night sky. I don't know if you can tell, but my position of my telescope is already nearly a zenith. So I should get going really soon. But first I want to take a look at the exposure time while using a brand new filter that I've never used before. So as a baseline, when I use the Optolong L Extreme with my Canon DSLR, I only used 5 minutes at I believe ISO 1600, because for that camera, if I go with a higher exposure time, I really start running into noise and all sorts of banding issue with that sensor. But I'm actually going to be using a dedicated Astro camera for this session,
and with a dedicated astral camera, I have the benefits of cooling, so I can actually afford to expose longer. And it also makes sense because the Ultimate filter, unlike the L Extreme, sorry, I got something caught in my throat. Like I was saying, the Ultimate filter, unlike the Optolong L Extreme, it's at 3 nanometers versus the Extreme 7 nanometers. So theoretically, I can actually afford to expose longer before light pollution becomes a problem. But I first want to see sort of my personal baseline, which is 5 minutes. So let's take a look. So this was my test shot at 5 minutes. That was pretty good. That looks really good. But like I said, this is at 3 nanometers, so it's more narrow, so I should be able to image longer before light pollution sets in and get more details. So I am going to go for 8 minutes, and I'm gonna skip to that when my when the test image shows up. Okay, so it's been 8 minutes since the last test exposure. So I want to show you guys what the 8-minute test exposure looks like and compare that to sort of my baseline of just 5 minutes. And I'm pretty excited. So right here, this is my 8 minutes test exposure using the Ultimate filter. And one thing I want to point out first, and this is usually a problem area for the older Optolong filters such as the L-Enhanced and the L-Extreme. This star right here, I'm going to zoom in on it. I think it's commonly known as 52 SIG, 52 CYG. Yeah. Never mind the star trails because I'm not guiding right now. I'm just doing a test exposure. I'm not. Now this is a stretch image within Nina. It's an auto stretch. I'm not seeing much of a halo because in the past, the L-Enhanced and the L-Extreme filter would typically give me a bit of a halo on a star as bright as this one. So that by itself, it's already super promising. So I'm going to zoom back out, and now I want to compare it to the 5-minute test exposure that I took earlier. And I saved a picture, oh, well, I saved a screenshot of it. And this is the 5-minute test exposure on the right. The difference is not large, but at least to my eyes, and hopefully it'll show on YouTube, but to my eyes, I'm seeing a little bit more details. I'm seeing more of this fainter nebulosity in the middle of the Veil Nebula. I think this region is the Pickering's triangle, I think. Well, let me just, sorry, Fleming's triangular wisps. I'm not really good with my knowledge around the Veil Nebula, so if I got it wrong, I apologize. But anyways, yeah, just comparing, you know, my 8 minutes on the left and my 5 minutes on the right, I'm gonna go with the 8 minutes exposure because this is giving me more of the fainter details in the middle of the nebula. Wow, I'm pretty excited. So, like I said, I want to start imaging as soon as I can. So I'm actually gonna put a pause right now and just go on with setting up the rest of the session, and I'll come back for a little bit more. Hey guys, so
It's around 3:45 a.m. in the morning. I just wrapped up the session with the Veil Nebula because at around 3 a.m. it dipped below the condo building, so you know, I had to wrap it up, and that's fine because I already have about, I think, 5 hours of good data that I could use to really see what the Optolong Ultimate filter is all about. And oh, by the way, I'm obviously talking to you guys from inside my condo building because, you know, it's 3:45, nearly 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm not going to be out there making a speech and waking everybody up. So hope you guys don't mind me just talking to you from within my house. But I took the next half an hour or so to take apart my imaging train and slew over to the next project that I want to start. And I forgot to mention earlier that, well, this weekend, we're in the middle of a new moon phase. So that means I have nearly no moon interference, which is one of the reasons why I picked the Veil Nebula, because that O3 data should be as clean as it gets. And it'll be a good test for the Optolong Ultimate to see what it can do with O3 data. But as usual, whenever there's my kittens are tearing apart the house, and they're going after their blinds. Great. As I was saying, when there's no moon, the obvious choice is to go after a broadband target. And with fall and winter coming up, I'm starting to see Pleiades earlier and earlier. And as of around 3:15 a.m., 3:30 a.m., it was high enough to clear some of the obstructions around me for me to start imaging. So naturally, I took apart my redcat 71, popped in the L Pro filter, and I started imaging on the Pleiades. Hi, Somnus. Thank you. Okay, there goes my mic. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Like I was saying, I'm imaging the Pleiades for the next project, so I'm super excited for that. It's about 4 a.m. right now, and my kittens are not going to sleep. So I'm gonna try to pack up and go to sleep. The redcat 71 is still imaging outside, so it'll go until the morning. I'll clean it up in the morning. What I want to do in the next segment of the video is actually maybe take a look at some of the individual frames from the Optolong L-Ultimate from tonight and see if there's anything worth mentioning. Maybe there's nothing worth mentioning, and if there's not anything worth mentioning, it's a good thing. Anyways, okay, it's nearly 4 a.m. I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'll resume filming tomorrow morning. Okay, so it's the next day, and I've already went ahead and gone over some of the individual images that I took from last night, and I kind of have an idea of what I want to talk about, but truthfully, as I'm reviewing these images, there's really not a whole lot that I think I need to point out, and that is a really good thing, because when you can just have an image or have a session and you're going through your sub-exposures and you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, there's nothing to report here. That's awesome. And one of the main concerns that I had going into the Optolong L-Ultimate filter is the presence or the probability of getting halos, because that's always been a problem with the Optolong L-Enhance and the Optolong L-Extreme, at least in my case, especially when I pair that to a relatively fast refractor such as the redcat series. And I'm happy to report that if I were to take a look at the individual frames, I'm not really seeing much of an issue. So let me show you what I mean. So
if you go into PixInsight and you use something called blink right here, you are going to be able to load all of your individual frames into PixInsight, and basically it'll give you a preview of what the image looks like. So that's what I did here, and I'm just gonna pick any random picture here from the night. Well, this looks upside down, so that looks kind of weird for me anyways. So I'm gonna pick this one and I'm gonna zoom in. And if I take a look at this star right here, I believe this is called 52 Sig or 52 CYG. This is the big bright star that is hovering around the Witch's Broom portion of the Veil Nebula. And in the past, this star, or any bright stars in general, using one of these dual narrowband filters has always given me halo problems. As a matter of fact, I think I did a video in the past to go over a Photoshop way to remove the halo. But the fact that when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing pixels, but I'm not seeing a halo. Now, yes, my stars do look weird. That's something I need to address that is completely unrelated to the filter. So I'll address that eventually. But I just want to point out that just looking at the sub-exposure using the Optolong L-Ultimate in my heavily light polluted skies, this is pretty amazing. This is, yeah. And like I said, there's really not much for me to report on, so that's a good thing. What I do want to show you is a stacked version of the night. And here it is. The only thing that I've done, this has zero processing, by the way. The only thing that I've done was to use PixInsight's dynamic background extraction to take out the background, just so I can see what I'm looking at. But other than that, I've done zero processing here. So I mean, just look at this. This is amazing data to work with. And so what I'm going to do now. Oh, by the way, I thought I had 5 hours of data, but it turns out I think I only have 4.5. But when you get 4.5 worth of data, good clean data to work with, that's plenty good already. So what I'm going to do now is actually go ahead and process this, and I hope that you guys will like the final picture. And this is going to be my first time using the Optolong L-Ultimate, and I hope that you'll like the final picture, and hopefully this will help you decide whether or not, when this filter is available again, whether or not this filter is something that you might want to look into. Personally speaking, I am very excited to have this filter. So with that being said, I am going to finish processing this, and I'll see you guys next time. Ooh man, this is just, I can't get over how good this looks. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Take care and clear skies, everyone. Bye.